One of the most talked about phones lately has undeniably been the POCO X3 NFC, and honestly, it does deserve the attention it's been getting. It's been given labels like Value King, the best bang for your buck phone of 2020, and I've even called it a mid-range killer myself. But how did it hold up after a week of trying it out? That's exactly what we're here to find out. Hey kids, Tito James here. Welcome back to the channel where we take awesome out of the box. It's time to give you guys our full review for the POCO X3 NFC. Let's kick things off with the build quality and design. In terms of construction, POCO has chosen a plastic back, a metal frame, and Gorilla Glass 5 to protect its display. Right there, you can already see that you're getting a bit more value than most devices in and around its 10,990 peso starting price, because other phones will typically use a plastic unibody chassis. You may have noticed that there was a bit of give on the back of the X3 when I first showed it to you guys on this channel, but I assure you, it's nothing to worry about, and overall, I think that it's a really well-constructed device. Now, one thing that you guys will notice if you decide to purchase this device is that it's a pretty heavy phone, and that's mostly due to the battery capacity, but aside from the weight, it's also a bit on the wide side, and that's without the included case. So it's definitely going to be a phone that you'll want to use with two hands. Design-wise, I kind of like what POCO did with the X3 with a pattern of diagonal lines running down the middle that kind of reminds me of a racing stripe that you find on a Camaro or Mustang. They weren't subtle on the branding for this device as well, with a bold, iridescent POCO logo that's hard to miss. This is something you'll either love or hate, but I would have preferred something a bit more stealthy in this department. You're only getting two colorways for the POCO X3 NFC. You have the cobalt blue that we have with us and the shadow gray that I actually prefer over this one. Both have a glossy finish, which means you'll spend a fair bit of time wiping down the phone if you plan on using it without a case. Something that's really polarizing in terms of design is the camera array. I don't quite know how to describe it, but one thing's for sure, it's pretty thick. The bump isn't as pronounced as the one on the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, but it's there, though the case should level things out and give it a bit of protection. No doubt one of the biggest highlights for the X3 NFC is its display. As a recap, you have an IPS LCD panel that measures in at 6.7 inches, the resolution is at Full HD+, you get a tiny punch hole on top to house the front camera, and it has a refresh rate of 120 Hz, which makes navigation through the phone feel incredibly fast. Now, you may have seen a video by Dave Lee or Dave2D where he shows the display underclocking its FPS to save on battery at the expense of a slight stutter every now and then, but honestly, I didn't really notice it during my time with the device. In terms of picture quality, it's pretty much what you would expect of a panel of this type. I did see a lot of you saying that the device not having an AMOLED display is a deal breaker, but in the context of its price, it's really not that bad. Although maybe that's something we can see from POCO or Xiaomi in the near future, but expect a price bump. I did enjoy watching Netflix shows though, since it has Widevine L1 certification, which means HD and HDR content is supported on this device out of the box. Aside from that, the X3 NFC is also equipped with a pair of speakers, one on the bottom and another one up on top, that generate a good amount of volume, plus the sound quality ain't that bad either. I would still use a pair of earphones since you still have a headphone jack on the POCO, but these speakers do get the seal of approval. One of the things that Xiaomi and POCO have been known for is giving us a great price to performance ratio, and that continues on with this device. You're getting a Qualcomm Snapdragon 732G. Again, this is the first phone in the world to get this new mid-range SoC, and it's paired with 6GB of RAM and up to 128GB of storage. Now, we ran some synthetic benchmarks against the Realme 6 that has a Helio G90T processor and the Vivo X50 that has a Snapdragon 730, where you see that the 732G pulls ahead of its competition, and it's pretty much on point with a 15% bump up in processing power. In terms of real-world use, I can honestly say that I don't see a huge difference between the two, but again, having the display at 120 Hz really gives you the feeling that it runs so much faster. For gaming, POCO also has your back on this one, with the phone able to run the games that I typically play at the highest settings without any issue. You do see some frame rate drops here and there, but nothing too game breaking, and you can always lower settings to get it to run even smoother. To see how long the battery would last, we ran our YouTube video loop test, and we were able to get 13 hours and 21 minutes from 100 to 0%. We were also able to get it to comfortably last a day and a half with 120 Hz refresh rate, but that's with moderate use. The good thing here is that you'll be able to get it up and running in a little over an hour thanks to its 33-watt fast charging capabilities. The phone runs on MIUI 12 on top of Android 10, and while they've certainly improved on the UI overlay a lot, I'm still not a fan of those ads that you get when you install apps. They aren't intrusive, but the extra step is a little annoying, though it is one of the ways they can get the price down on their phones. For the cameras, the POCO X3 NFC has a pretty good set of shooters, with a 64-megapixel main camera that's backed by a Sony IMX682 sensor. You have a 13-megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2MP depth sensor, a 2-megapixel macro, and a 20-megapixel front camera for selfies. The overall picture quality from this device is really good for what you're expected to pay for it, and can certainly hang with other devices at the other side of the price spectrum in the mid-range segment. It does have a tendency to up the saturation a little bit though, so you might have to disable its AI functions at times, but the details are on point, plus the dynamic range is impressive all things considered. Shots in low light do lack a bit of detail even with night mode turned on. Again, it ain't that bad, and it certainly has less noise compared to some of its competition in the market right now. I'm not big on selfies, but I think the X3 NFC does a decent job, although you can help it out by making sure that you are lit well when you are going to be using it. Now the big question here is, should you get the POCO X3 NFC? Honestly, it's a pretty easy phone to recommend, especially if you're looking to get your money's worth. They were just able to pack so much goodness out of the device, and it's truly deserving of its Value King title. Is it for everyone? Well, as some of you expressed, maybe not. If you're looking for an AMOLED display, there's still the Mi Note 10 Lite or the upcoming Samsung Galaxy M51 that has a massive 7000 mAh battery as well. But again, it all hinges on that mind-blowing price point of $10,990 or $12,990 if you want more storage, and it's just hard to find a phone with the same feature set as the POCO X3 NFC. In fact, the biggest con that I see with this device is the fact that it's pretty hard to come by since it does sell out really quickly. And there you have it, guys. That's pretty much it for our full review for the POCO X3 NFC. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our content. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll try my best to get to them as soon as I can. For all the latest tech news and gadget reviews, head to unbox.ph, plus follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. My name is Tito James. Peace, God bless, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.